Ladies and gentlemen. Hang on.
Hey, that was cool.
It really was. We're gonna get this party started, folks. Okay.
I am Oz.
If you're depressed at all, you won't be for very long because our first guest is gonna be Bob Beach. He is our resident comedian, and he's actually really good. So I'll let you take over, brother. Take the microphone of your choice, whichever you prefer.
Well, thank you, everybody. How's everyone doing tonight? One of my favorite things about this particular room is that the fact that my entire audience is just out of view. See, I can't see the dirty looks on their faces when I tell my shit jokes.
They're looking this way.
Oh, they're looking, but I can't
I
see
can
them.
see them.
We can hear you.
Well, I appreciate that. How's everyone doing tonight?
All right.
I'm going through kind of a career transition recently. For the last 12 years, I was working as a substitute teacher in local schools. And now I'm starting a new job as a history professor at Eatery University. Huh? How about that? Except that's not what happened. No, see, for the last 12 years, I was a history professor at Eatery University. And now I'm starting a job substitute teaching for local schools.
Hey.
So that's where my life is. Now that we know each other a little bit better, though, I feel like I can announce. This is a very significant life announcement. For the first time in my life, I fulfilled one of my New Year's resolutions, folks. Huh? Yeah, I finally stopped the $10 auto withdrawal from Planet Fitness. And that wasn't even this year's resolution either. I've been trying to get out of that contract for a decade, folks. I knew immediately it wasn't going to work out for me at Planet Fitness. I've got an instinct for these kinds of things. Like, I'm the kind of guy who always follows his gut. You know? Unless I'm crab walking.
Oh, you don't have GPS?
Yeah. And as soon as I crab walked into that Planet Fitness, they accosted me. They're like, "Sir, you can't crab walk into the Planet Fitness. We know you Geminis are very judgmental people, so we want to kind of prevent it right off the bat." And then they're trying to explain to me the rules. You know, they got the judgment-free zone over there at the Planet Fitness, and they're telling me that there's no yelling, right? There's no grunting. And I'm like, hold it right there, no grunting. How the hell am I supposed to get up onto the treadmill? Judgment-free zone my ass. I guess I've always had a kind of been self-conscious about my weight. Kind of from when I was a kid. You guys remember the Ground Round, the restaurant? They had the butcher scale in the lobby, and they would invite kids to jump up on the butcher scale, and your parents would pay your weight and, you know, whatever meal you got. And yeah, I was the only kid trying to finish my grilled cheese sandwich, and my parents were like, "How the fuck are we gonna pay $50 for this goddamn sandwich?" It was always an issue. I was never invited to a Planet Fitness birthday party when I was a kid. And I feel like that's the source of a lot of my trauma in my life. I actually didn't even know that existed. Didn't even know that was a possibility. I was on social media recently and I saw a video of one of my friends, his kid, and like 15 lunatics doing jumping jacks and Nautilus, and I'm like, this is child abuse. Like, whatever happened to Billy Bees? That's a lot more fun. And then I noticed something, a common characteristic of all of the kids at the Planet Fitness birthday party. And I realized that why I'd never been invited to one. There was probably a meeting like a month before the party, right before the invitations went out, with the birthday boy and his parents. And they're like, "Timmy, We know you wanted to have a Planet Fitness birthday party this year, but we gotta have a serious conversation about Bob. Not gonna be able to keep up with the other kids, you know. He's got a grunt to get up on the treadmill. I'm not losing my deposit this time. We can have a hot dog eating contest birthday party next year, and we can invite Bob, but this year we're gonna have to leave him out. And that's when I couldn't take it anymore. Couldn't take it anymore. I was like, you know what? I turned the video off, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna really do something about my weight. So we joined Planet Fitness. Fuckers got $20 from me this month. Yeah, there goes my 2013 New Year's resolution down the drain. But I did lose 100 pounds. Not because I worked out, but because I had gastric bypass surgery. That's a lot easier. Getting your digestive system rerouted is definitely the easier path. But yeah, there goes my 2013 New Year's resolution. I guess I'll have to maybe get it over on my 2023 New Year's resolution, because I was in the parking lot smoking some weed, thinking, you know, I'm smoking a lot more weed this year, so check. Yeah. See, you guys laugh, but that doesn't always benefit me. I get a call from my sister the other day. She's like, I'm picking up my son at daycare. He's 5. And she's like, we're walking through the parking lot through a cloud of pot smoke. She hates pot smoke. And she's like, imagine my surprise when my son immediately brightens, looks up at me, and he's like, Uncle Bob's here. I was like, thanks for throwing me under the bus, kid. Like, it was the Billy B's parking lot that one time, right? But we agreed not to tell Mom about that. It was the Hub Eatery parking lot tonight. So there's a few parking lots under my belt, but like statistically, folks, it can't be every parking lot, right? Because I was at Little Caesars the other day. You guys like Little Caesars? Yeah, I like the tagline that they have, pizza, pizza.
No, it's hot and ready now.
So I'm getting 2 hot and ready pizzas at Little Caesars the other day. The guy that behind the counter is like, hey man, I know you. You're the fucking parking lot guy. I knew I smelled you out there. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'm the parking lot guy. Can I get my food, please? And he's like, no, man, relax. I just wanted to. I was actually going to throw a free order of crazy bread in with those 2 pizzas. And I was like, you know what, man? Don't bother. Because you know what, Little Caesars? There's nothing crazy at all about that bread. But you know what is pretty crazy? You guys got a knife shop out back called Little Brutus? Stabby, stabby. See, that one takes a minute. There's discussion going on. Wait, what was the punchline? Yes, you do. Or a literature buff, either one. Speaking of assassinations, though, I will kill a bag of D-Dubb chocolates. I love D-Dubb chocolates. Not too keen on the inspirational messages that they write on the wrappers to the D-Dubb chocolates, though, right? You know, they're fine messages, don't get me wrong, just not enough of them, right? Because when you're housing a whole bag, there's going to be repeats, right? Recently, I get a whole family-size bag. I sit down, this is before the 100 pounds. I'm getting ready to go, and I open the first one, and I look at the inspirational message, and it says, you got this. The hell yeah, I got this. And then I open the next one. You got this. We reviewed that already. Didn't need that repeated. An hour later, surrounded by empty foil wrappers and 15 you got this, I'm starting to wonder what it is that I actually have. I'm pretty sure they call it diabetes, right? Yeah. Tried some edibles recently. You guys like edibles? Yes. I'm not sure, though, how you folks eat bars of chocolate. Are people really breaking squares off? No. You take a bite, right? Like a human being, sir. You know what I'm talking about. And that's what I did. I took a nice big bite to make this guy laugh. Nothing. I waited the hour they tell you to wait. Nothing was happening, so I took another bite. Yeah. Now I'm standing here looking at the canal-shaped wedge of chocolate in my hand, like, what am I going to do with this? So I finished the bar. Just then my wife comes in, and she's like, oh, I didn't expect you to be home. I didn't smell you out in the parking lot. I was like, you too, babe? She's like, no. And then she panicked. She's like, did you just eat that whole thing? There's dosing, babe. I'm like, dosing? She's like, yeah, I think you're only supposed to eat one of those at a time. Oh, shit. I don't. We should probably find the insurance cards now, right? That's probably a good decision. So we found the insurance cards and we hunkered down and we waited, and an hour went by, and then two, and then, folks, it hit me like a ton of bricks, like a hurricane, like a Mack truck. I smoke way too much weed for commercial edibles. Did nothing. I'd have been better off with a bag of D-Dubb chocolates and my pipe in a parking lot somewhere. So I learned that lesson. But with the amount of weed that I smoke, though, you'd think that I'd be pretty good at packing the bowl, but I'm not. And it's not a tough skill to master. Sir, cover your ears for this piece of material. It's not a tough skill to master. Just a pinch of weed, you put it in the pipe, that's it. Every time I do it, there's 3 ounces of weed on the table. I don't know where that came from. I'm not putting 3 grams into the pipe. And that got me thinking, though, if I ever found a genie in a lamp and got 3 wishes, I'm not wishing for superpowers, no money, none of that shit. I want all the weed dust I brushed off my shirt over the years, you know what I mean? Yeah. Can come in handy in a pinch, like now. My second wish, unique D-Dubb chocolate wrappers for the rest of my life. I will get a new inspirational message every time I open up a D-Dubb. And my third wish would be that I would get the opportunity to rename all 50 of our states.
There you go.
You know, we got 50 states. They're all very poorly named. A lot of them named after the indigenous tribes that we killed off when we settled there. A lot of them are just cheap rip-offs of English things, right? Like, this land reminds me of Mary. We'll call it Maryland. This reminds me of George. We'll call it George. Yeah. And there are duplicates too, right? There are 2 Virginias, 2 Dakotas, 2 Carolinas. We also have 2 Michigans, but it's just the one Michigan, I guess. Could have 2 Washingtons. One's a state in the West, the other one, though, is at D.C., which stands for doesn't count. Could have any number of Mississippis, right? 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and on and on. Just the one, so. And we have 2 Kansases, too. Right? We have Kansas, and then we have Kansas. Named after the pirate colony, that's exactly right. Although it was odd that they would choose a landlocked state for their colony. Maybe I just don't understand 18th century piracy. Did you ever notice that political candidates just stopped wearing ties in the early to mid 2000s to pretend like they were men of the people, right? And then Trump brought the tie back to pretend like he was a legitimate businessman. Did you ever notice that a lot of jokes begin with, did you ever notice? It's a pretty good segue, right? On the other hand, you have a self-balancing 2-wheeled personal transporter with a faulty gyroscopic sensor, which of course is a bad segue. Thank you. Speaking of segues, I almost hit. You don't really see those very much at all. Almost hit one on the road recently. Was a little distracted. I was not texting and driving though, I promise you that. I was not texting and driving. But I was reading a billboard about texting and driving, which is a lot more confusing and distracting because you gotta squint to see those, especially at my age. Just got a couple more and I'll get off here. Trying to expand my taco portfolio. Sort of grew up on very generic tacos. Trying to expand my approach to tacos, and I recently discovered various new things that I like in tacos. I found that I like rice in my tacos. Not a huge fan of ricin in my tacos, though. It's not nearly as good. There's the light. I'm glad we're done hearing with from the CDC all the time in the news. It was really relieving that we don't have to listen to them as much as we once did. But I still think that there's one thing that we have to keep in mind that we can't take for granted when we're talking about the CDC, right? And that's the appropriate use of articles. Yeah, it's very important to use the definite article the. Right, it's the CDC. Because if you use the indefinite article, you get a CDC, which is something completely different. One more. I think that because I think we're doing some music tonight, right? Is that
Yep.
the document? I love music, and I actually think that the Rolling Stones nailed the double negative in the one song that they do. You know. Could you imagine if Satisfaction adhered to traditional grammatical conventions? They're on the recording studio, they lay down that really cool riff. Mick steps up to the mic. I'm gonna add the words. I can't get any. And that's exactly what happened in the recording studio. Dead silence. As Keith pipes up and is like, I don't know, Mick. I think you should just throw the double negative in there. And Mick furrows his brow. I don't know, Keith. What about my adherence to traditional grammatical conventions? Traditional grammatical conventions can piss off, Mick. This is rock and roll. And could you please pass the heroin? All right, folks. That's all the time I have. My name is Bob Beach. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Show him some love. Bob Beach. Thank you so much, Bob, for coming. See, that's how you get started. With a good laugh and with a good man. He, as Seth said, he reminds me of the voices in my head that talk to me. All right, I'm not sure what we're going to have next. I know Ann is on her way here. She's driving down Bleecker Street lost, so she's going to try to get here. We may get Rachel first, I believe. Were you the one who wanted to be first?
I don't care. I don't care when I go.
You can get a beer first if you want. I'll get you a beer holder up here. So hang in there, folks. We're going to have Rachel, Lady Cat. Good stuff. Good way to start.